Hi, how is everyone? This podcast is special because it has been requested by one of you. This topic is not something most couples would want to deal with, but it's a reality. It happens, it has happened to a couple of us, if not all of us. And I remember when I lost my baby, my firstborn baby, I was confused, I was lost, I didn't know how to deal. The loss was too much for me to bear. I had been in waiting for 2 years, so naturally I was super excited for the gift of carrying my son. I shopped by the fifth month. My sisters were also super excited, and they shopped in the prospects of a new nephew. It was an easy pregnancy. I had no allergies to anything. I did not have cravings. I ate anything on the table. I did most of the house chores. It was just an easy pregnancy that didn't have any issues or anything. But towards the last 2 weeks, um, uh, going up to the delivery now, there was reduced activity in the oven, which the medics attributed to the baby being big and having no room to play. That should have been my first red flag. And it was because I was literally over the edge on the same. I dragged my husband to the hospital for checkups where I would go listen to the heartbeat of the baby. And also we did some several scans towards the end of the pregnancy, just to be sure the baby was okay. I was going for a normal delivery, so I was waiting for natural labor. Eventually labor came, and the excited us drove to the hospital to have our baby. My contractions were fairly close. My baby came later that evening. That was the beginning of our trouble. First, they asked my husband to leave before my baby came, and that meant that now I had no one to consult or compare notes with. Then, being the weaker me at the time, I was confused and literally did not have information of anything about delivery. In fact, this just exposed my naivety. We were later to learn that I had pushed a baby in distress. My water had been green, which means baby had pooped in the water. Then worse, baby was uh, did not cry when born, a condition they call asphyxia. Ideally, the baby should have been put in NBU immediately in hope to resuscitate and probably get a heartbeat. And I'm sorry to say that I was given the baby to hold. Then the following day, we were transferred to a much bigger hospital. And on arrival to the hospital, the first nurse I found diagnosed the baby as having asphyxia and meconium intake. We were both admitted on different wards. I had serious blood pressure issues, so I was to be monitored as they tried to save the baby. What I saw there is still a horror movie till today for me. And guys, spare a minute for every woman who has a child in NICU. Life is there is very fragile and emotions are very high. I saw women who had suffered multiple child loss now hanging to the only child who made it to other life. I saw women desperate, worn out, crying, praying that their babies would survive. We were supposed to breastfeed the babies every 3 hours, which meant leaving our ward going to where newborn unit is. This work was never easy for especially somebody like me who had just given birth, and of course to all of us. I had gorged breasts because now I was producing milk and breastfeeding no one. So my breasts were heavy, swollen, and in pain. Then there was my stitches still ached. My legs were swollen. Literally, I did not understand my body, and I had these headaches that would come and go. I think because of the blood pressure. Finally, after 3 aching days, I came face to face with the hard truth that I was not leaving the hospital with a baby. He had severe meconium intake, which were which they called grade 3. He also had severe brain damage. The doctor asked me The doctor informed me of this issue, and after analyzing the whole file, he asked me, just release this baby for your sake and his sake. And for the first time in those 3 days, my body just shut. I think I went into a shock. I had refused to deal with my pain, and now I was also coming to face with my husband's pain. Occasionally, I would see it was affecting him, so I tried to shield him from the pain. I could see the pain was affecting him, and I tried to shield him by not giving him the doctor's reports as raw as they were. We finally left the hospital empty handed, lost, and unaware of how we would deal with the loss. For myself, I had adopted a mechanism of dealing with pain, and therefore I knew how much pain was too much pain and what the extremes I could allow my body to go. I run to God when I can't make sense of anything, and I download my pain to Him. And that helps a lot because I trust Him to renew my strength. What I didn't prepare for is how my hubby would handle this. This was all new for us. He grieved longer than I did. This baby had meant so much for him. He went into a fight with God. He abandoned prayer and would even refuse to go to church. I watched helplessly, but I understood his brokenness. Whenever he cried, I didn't interfere or ask questions. Grieving is personal, and you cannot put a manual or a timer on the process. Now, this began a new journey for us. First, my hubby was not comfortable having the baby's clothes in the house or anything that reminded him of the baby. So he moved the baby's clothes to his sister's house. Then there were places he wasn't comfortable us going because he didn't want questions from people. Personally, I had snapped out of it and was actually preparing my body for the search of a rainbow. I had earlier been given advice by women which turned out to be very variable. This was my lessons from that experience. You are each other's support system in the loss. So you cannot afford to loosen the grip on each other's hand. If anything, you're supposed to hold it stronger because he understands the pain, then you know what this baby meant to both of you. Then there are plans you had made concerning this baby. So you cannot afford not to be by each other's side when you're crying as you realize what that loss means to both of you. Then you're partners at the end of the day. And a loss of this nature, you cannot afford to not look at each other and hold each other's hand. Allow your partner to grieve as long as they want. Grieving is a personal process. Every one of us grieves differently. You cannot force a person to grieve your way. You cannot force people to react to pain the way you do. So you must allow your spouse to be themselves in this grieving process and be okay with it no matter how long they take into it. It is okay. Because if they do not go through the process the way they are supposed to do, chances are they will keep repeating this process somewhere and it will not go away and they will destroy you more because they have pain inside. Do not go into blame game because then you'll end up hurting each other. If you point fingers at each other, you should have done this, you should have done that. I asked you to do this, you didn't do that. You're gonna mess up the whole thing, and you will misdirect the pain to each other. Yet you're supposed to be grieving together. And there are things you might say or do during this period that will remain in each other's hearts and mind forever. And I'm sorry to say, child loss is not something that once you overcome, it goes away. It is a constant reminder. It is always there. You'll always remember that you lost a child. So can you imagine remembering it with some nasty words that you said to your partner? You'll always be haunted by them forever. And as I also realized, as a woman, you need to find ways to snap out of it very fast. The longer you stay in the morning, the more distressed your body becomes. The harder it becomes to conceive another baby. And you throw the whole marriage issue into a frenzy by grieving too much. Because, sorry to say, we are emotional beings, and if you stay in mourning for too long, you are making the situation even worse. Child loss can break a marriage. Be careful the voices you allow near you. There are people I had to push away personally, and some friendships that I had to break to overcome that loss. Because these are people who are constantly reminding you of the failure, of the loss. So if every time you take two steps to healing, they are taking you three steps back. They're also very good at also pronouncing the inadequacies of every other couple, and also pronouncing the pain in a more aggravated and dramatic way. So personally, I chose me over the friendship. So I let them go for my own sanity. Be careful also of people who come in the name of comforting you, yet they are there to reawaken the pain afresh in you by blaming you or by pointing at your spouse, hoping to return the pain to ground zero. Be very careful of such people. Then choose faith over fear, because what are the options that you have? You have zero options. You don't give life. Your partner does not give life. There's nothing you can do about it. Once the baby is gone, it's gone. Then remember this: nobody wanted the child alive more than both of you. That is why you allow your partner to fight with you side by side. Then it wasn't a total loss for me, because there are some gains I got from the loss, you might ask, which I learned to trust my husband more with our children, because I know without a shadow of doubt that he wants the best for the children. Because the way I saw him grieve for our firstborn, I knew how much he wanted this baby to be alive. And therefore, I have learned to see that he wants the best for them as much as I do. I became more in touch with him emotionally, because he allowed himself to become bare to me emotionally, and he shared his worst fears at the time and allowed me to connect with him on that level. So I think I understood him more, which also has somehow strengthened our marriage. What I would want to tell a couple out there is that seasons come and go. And if you are out there handling a loss of this nature, remember this too shall pass. If you give it time and allow each other to dream again. I am now a mother of two. God has wiped away my tears and renewed my joy. What I can tell any other couple out there, those ones who are almost packing their bags out of the marriage because of child loss, God can do it for you like He did it for me. A child loss should not be a reason for you to walk away from your partner. We had been in waiting before that loss, and even after that loss, we still remained in waiting, because our our rainbow was born, I think, a year and a half later. So we had also to be in waiting, and the waiting was not easy, and it was not an easy time, because you had known the joy of being a parent, so it wasn't easy. So you have no business packing your bags just because you've lost a child. If you allow that pain to just remain pain, and know that your partner would have also wanted that baby to be alive as much as you do, and that there's nothing your partner could have done about it. Just the same way you are helpless, they are also helpless. So by walking out on them just because you've lost a baby, shows more of character about you than your partner. Child loss is a loss where you fight side by side. You pray and you wait for God who gives children, because your partner cannot give themselves children. So do not be pushed by relatives and friends, because some relatives are very good at this. Some in-laws who keep telling you, hey, your wife loses kids all the time, so why are you still staying with them? your your wife has not been able to bear you children, this is out of control for them. This is a pure God's issue. Do not blame it on your wife. And number two, also, if you're a wife out there experiencing multiple losses, every time you conceive, you lose the kids before you give birth to them. I would say that I lost my baby because of hospital negligence, and I was also very naive on that matter. What I would want to urge women out there, seek information as much as you do. Do not be as naive as I was going into labor. And if you have experienced multiple losses, I think it's time you also investigate medically, go for checkup so that they can identify any underlying issue so that they can prevent the same. And if you're given a manual or maybe the way the doctors see the situation, and they would want you to follow a certain procedure or a way of life until the baby is born, please be disciplined enough to do that so that you may prevent future losses, and so that we can continue also saving our marriages. I hope this has helped a couple out there, and I hope we have learned something about overcoming loss and how best we can fight side by side.